So I'm going to start with the early morning hours of July 18th, 2013. So it's been over 5 years. I may miss some of the facts here, but that was the early morning hours was the day, night that changed my life forever. Put me inside out, upside down, whatever you want to call it. That was the night that our beautiful daughter, Peyton, left the house. And for 3 days, we didn't know where she was. So day after day, our hope faded with every hour of fear. We really thought she had gone on a drive to get away, which she had done several times before, just to escape the realities of life and the hardships of getting through high school and being a perfectionist, which she was. And for 3 days, we prayed often, cried often, but with the help of the community, never gave up hope. And that hope vanished in the afternoon hours of July 21st on a Sunday when the detectives said they had found tire tracks going into Geist Reservoir. I remember at that moment that I wouldn't see Peyton again. It hit me very hard, and the reality struck, and sure enough, after about 3 hours of hearing sirens and helicopters and many, many kids running down just one cul-de-sac over from where we lived, and them dragging her car out, the reality hit that Peyton had took her life. And from that moment on, I had after the shock wore off, I went through what I think any parent would go through when they lose a child, which is guilt and severe sadness, really asking a lot of questions. And still ask today, even 5 years later, a lot of those questions that I won't have the answers for. So let me tell you a little bit about Peyton. Peyton was just a sweetheart of a daughter, beautiful child. I often show her face, which it pains me to see her in pictures, but I show her face in her senior year pictures because it shows a beautiful girl with a beautiful smile, and I say that's the face of depression. And parents and kids would look at me like, you're crazy. That's not the face of depression. And I say, yes, it is, because depression is internal and often is not seen on the outside. And that was Peyton. She masked her illness very, very good. But growing up, really never saw any signs of severe sadness or those typical signs and symptoms of depression or any mental illness for that matter. Was an unbelievably responsible daughter, incredibly caring towards her younger two brothers. Almost a second mom, if you will. Very good athlete, loved softball, played softball from the time she was 8 years old up to her junior year in high school. Very smart. She read books on math, which I didn't even know they made books on math. But very, very smart individual, and graduated with a 3.9 from Hamilton Southeastern, and got a scholarship to my alma mater, so seemed excited to go to the University of Kansas. We didn't really see depression take hold of her until about her junior year in high school. And that was when we saw her starting to isolate herself in a room, which is pretty typical of a teenager. And that was one of the other hard things for us to understand, was there something else going on, or was this just typical teenage behavior? Because teenagers in themselves have an unusual behavior and are very difficult at times. Isolating herself, she had some physical ailments like stomach problems a lot, and now you see those are some symptoms of depression, sleep disorders, a lot of sleep issues going on. We took her to a sleep lab and couldn't find anything. She started walking away from her favorite activities. I told you she played softball up to her junior year. Well, she ended up quitting after her junior year of a game that was her love for many, many years, and she just couldn't handle it. She couldn't handle the stress and the pressures of playing on a very high-level school softball team. Walked away from her friends, which was very weird because she was very social up till about that time in her junior year and stopped hanging out with them on the weekends. And I even questioned that. I even encouraged her to spend more time with friends because I thought it was healthy. Her senior year trip, nowadays they don't just go down to the local lake, they go to Mexico or, wherever. And her senior trip was to Mexico, and I actually encouraged her to go, talking her into going, which is not usually what a dad is going to do. But she ended up going and having a fabulous time. I wanted her to treasure those memories and friendships that she had in high school. So we just saw some of these, what I call as non-traditional depression and suicide symptoms or warning signs that I really didn't know. And of course, you hear it all the time. I didn't think this would happen to us, and I certainly didn't think Peyton would go to the measure that she did to take her life. We had her in counseling. She actually withdrew from high school her second semester at HSE. In order to take her out of school, she had to commit to going to Galileo Behavioral Health Therapy, and she did very willingly, and seemed to enjoy it. She presented some posters to Mom and I. We did some family counseling down there. Things seemed to be going very, very well. She ended up graduating online at high school and decided that she had gotten everything she wanted out of Galahue. So we made a family decision that it was enough, and she was fine. And that was probably early part of June. And thought the summer she was doing pretty well. The other thing that Peyton did have a tendency to do more than I had wished she had done is drink. She found alcohol as probably and likely her escape from her unhappiness and sadness. She did have her, her drinks every now and then. So, I have a hole in my heart, and I'll always have this hole and broken heart. It'll never heal. You don't get over this. As much as people will say just get over it, it happened 5 years ago. I'm not going to get over this, and I'm quite honestly, I'm pissed at depression for taking my daughter, and trying to do some things about that. Started a foundation, and what I have found that we need to do as a society is talk about it. We need to get rid of the stigma and the shame and guilt that our kids are hurting, and they are hurting. 20 to 25% of high school kids nowadays have some kind of mental illness, be it anxiety, which is very, very high, depression, or any other types of mental illness. And we need to take our proudful moms and dads' hats off and take care of our kids. And that doesn't mean that we need to solve the problems. As a man, I put a lot of that on myself, that I should have fixed this. And some of that we can't fix. I send my boys to baseball lessons, right? I pay for those lessons. Why do I do that? Because I can't teach them. The same should be for those that are having mental illness issues. They need to get good help, a life coach, somebody that's going to give them the lessons and the problem-solving skills and the coping mechanisms to get through some of their pain that they're experiencing and their unhappiness. We need to let the experts do their work. And we need to make sure our kids understand that it's okay not to be okay. And that there's help out there, and there's hope on the horizon, and the sun will come up tomorrow. It may be a gloomy day, but there's always some good in every day. And we need to encourage both parents and our adolescents that they can get through this. And I've seen it happen time and time again over the last 5 years, that if you just don't give up on life, you can have a beautiful life with or without a mental illness, through counseling, through therapy, through just talking through it. Life is a gift, and there's so much to offer all of you that are out there hurting and I know you're hurting. There's a lot of pressures in society these days. Ask for help. Go seek help. Go ask your friends. Go ask a trusted adult. There's too much out there to live for.